you got to buckle up. Now my day, basically, we're here. We go see. I started out. We were doing some golfing, and then go check out this apartment. Now what we're doing is we're heading over to the restaurant. We're going to be going to a restaurant. It's called Hillside, the Hillside Restaurant in Grays Lake, Illinois. And we're going to be doing a complete refurbishing of that restaurant. Okay. And that's going to be like excellent. But I got to get out in traffic, make sure we don't die. All right. Adam here doesn't want to die while I'm driving.
No, sir.
So the traffic keeps coming. Anyhow, so when you're doing this stuff, you got to keep pushing. It's always a matter of how hard you're going to push, how much you're going to do, because no one's going to do it for you. I mean, you're not 5 years old anymore, right? You're not 10 years old. No one's going to make you a sandwich. They say women today don't even want to make a sandwich for their husbands. Hey, not going down that rabbit hole, but just saying.
So have you had the same contractors for this project, or have you had to fire some people and hire new people? How's that whole process been going with this building?
We did the first 4 units. We had totally a different crew doing the first 4 units of the 6-unit building. Okay, and so those people have come and gone. It is constantly. You're always changing it up. It's never the same. You'd always like you have the same people all the time, but people move on. It isn't. Sometimes they move on and it wasn't voluntary on their part, and sometimes you just want them out because they're not doing the job. So it just depends.
What are some of the biggest issues you've come across with this building so far?
Well, with this one, I can't say that there wasn't much that we didn't expect. We had to end up replacing all the furnaces, all the air conditioners, but we knew they were old. Okay, they weren't the originals, but they were still pretty damn old. They were 20, 23, 24 years old. And so we knew they were up there, and so we knew we were going to have to replace them. It's an expense we don't like. It doesn't necessarily increase the value of the building. We love doing stuff that actually increases the value of the building. And what I mean by the fact that it didn't increase the value of the building is because when you walk into a building, you expect it to have heat. You expect it to have air conditioning, okay? You expect the roof to be a good roof. The foundation. Now, we didn't have any foundation problems. We didn't have any roof problems. But when you spend money on things like roofs, heat and electric, and the mechanicals, you don't increase the value of the building by doing that because it's all expected anyways. Where you make money is by forcing that appreciation through redoing the bathrooms, redoing the kitchens, putting in new closet doors, stuff that just makes the unit pop. Anything you can do that brings up the value of the rent, right? Increases the rent. If you can increase the rent, you're going to increase the value of the building. That's typically the way it works. I think basically where our surprise has been was the fact that cap rates, which is your expected return on your money, okay, it's called a cap rate. It's what do you expect to receive if you had the building paid off, okay? Cap rates, as they shrink, your value of your building goes up. As they expand, the value of the building goes down, okay, even though the rents are the same, right? It's what is the expectation of the gain from that investment and the area in which the building's in. Well, when you go through a real estate market where interest rates double, it's an expansion also of cap rates. And when that happens, your buildings, they literally fall in value. Even though they can be fully occupied, you could be getting all the best rents, but your building is worth less money because the fact that the cap rates will expand as the interest rates go up. Okay? And that's just part of the economy. Now what happens is we're getting now to that point where we talked about a little bit earlier, where the Fed is talking about lowering interest rates. Well, over the course of the next 12 months or so, we should see that expansion of cap rates with multifamily, okay, will start to stop happening. and it'll actually start to shrink. And as those cap rates shrink, the economics around every multifamily building, okay, the values will start to go back up higher again. All right. And that's just part of a real estate cycle. So I think that for us, when it came to this building, okay, we got in at a good price. We were able to redo all these units. Even though the cap rates expanded on us, this building is still worth more money than what we paid for it because of the fact that we increased the rents so much. Okay. When you go from, $900 to $1,650, $1,700, that goes, a lot of that money goes to the bottom line, the NOI, net operating income. Then net operating income, okay, gets factored into the cap rate, and still, even though that cap rate has expanded, that building value has still gone up. Okay, it has shrunk because of it'll go up even more as time goes on. Okay, so that's kind of what to answer your question. I know it's a long answer, but I think probably having to deal with maybe the furnaces and all the air conditioners all at one time throws a big heavy expense into the project. Yeah, so we put these units together. In the last couple of years, we did all the forced appreciation on them. We're finishing up this one building here. So we've touched everything we've done. It's either had a full remodel on the buildings that we've already bought. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to get about a $2.5 to $3 million loan. We're going to retire about a $500,000 hard money loan that we use to fix up the buildings. Okay. And so that's going to leave us anywhere from $2.5 to $3 million that we're going to have as a first mortgage on these properties because we paid cash for them. All right. And so then we're going to take that $2.5 million to $3 million bucks, and we're going to go to someplace, probably Phoenix or Nashville or Austin. Okay. One of these locations that have been hit hard, where there's an overabundance of new construction being finished, where all this has taken place as far as the slowdown that has taken place in the real estate market. The example would be, we've talked about this many times, okay, is that people put the wrong kind of financing on a lot of buildings that they overpaid for 2 years ago. So they bought these buildings and they paid too much for them, and they put adjustable rate mortgages where they bought them with hard money loans. These are short-term loans with high interest rates. Then they borrowed more money to fix these things up. They've got them all done. They did the forced appreciation, and then what's happened? Okay, well, interest rates doubled. And so they went from having a 5% interest rate, well, actually, when they bought it, they had an adjustable rate, so they probably were getting a 2% interest rate in order to make the deal work, because when they went to look at the deal, they paid full price or more for the apartment building. Because remember, a couple of years ago, the economy was a hell of a lot better. This was before they started raising the interest rates 2-3 years ago. Okay. And so they were paying top dollar for the building. They went and they got an adjustable rate mortgage, because otherwise, when they did their underwriting, which is, running the numbers on the building, does it work? It didn't work unless they got the adjustable rate mortgage. And so then what happened is, now these interest rates have gone up, these mortgage payments are skyrocketing, okay? All this stuff is happening. And now they're sitting there with a fully remodeled building. They're sitting there with great tenants, okay? Rents are coming in, but the numbers don't work because the mortgage payment doubled. And if the mortgage payment doubles, you're kind of screwed, okay? Now you can say to me, well, what about the building we just looked at? Well, we paid cash for that building. Yes, we borrowed a little bit of money to fix it up, but we paid cash for the building. All right? Now we're going to put a mortgage on it, okay, along with the rest of the portfolio, and we're going to go hunting for some deals. Because when people screw up in real estate, they will either screw up by buying the wrong property that needs too much work, or putting the wrong kind of financing on the property. Okay? That's how they personally will screw up. Now, the economy, that can have a huge impact on whether or not the screw up that they do is lethal or it can be overcome. Unfortunately, with the doubling of the interest rates and the bad decisions of putting adjustable rate mortgages, and even these people who bought a rate cap, which was supposed to protect them, well, those rate caps have all expired, and those interest rates now have skyrocketed. So we're going to be looking for those kind of properties so we can solve somebody's problem. Somebody who needs to get rid of a building, who's sitting there and they've got a building that's choking them to death. Okay. What's another kind of building situation we're looking for? Is all this overbuilt, in the Sun Belt, in the South, Southwest, Southeast, Southwest. They've overbuilt these areas tremendously. There are tremendous amounts of apartment buildings coming online, okay, that are really totally underwater. Because when they started building these things 2-3 years ago, when they put them on the table as future projects, the interest rates, you could get a loan for 4%. Now that same loan is 9 to 10. So now these things are getting finished, or they've been finished for the last 6 months, but they're struggling to death. So we're going to be looking for that $5 million building that would have, under normal circumstances, would be worth $7 million. And then we're going to go in and pay $5 million for it. Okay? That's kind of what our plan is going forward. All right? And what even enhances this? Well, there's a third part of this real estate when it comes to multifamily where people are kind of screwed up. Okay? And that is just all the loans that are coming due that have to be refinanced. What we are finding is that, a commercial loan is for 5 to 10 years. So if you've got a 5-year loan, okay, and what a lot of guys did was they went out, they bought a big apartment building, they redid it, they re-rented it, okay, then they went back to the bank 5 years ago, all right, and they did a refi and refied out a big chunk of their equity. And then they went and used it for a down payment somewhere else or to give it back to investors or whatever they did. All right. But now that loan is coming due and it has to be refinanced. And it's going to now get refinanced not at 4%, but at 8, 9, 10%. And now these people are going to have the big struggle. So the part of the market that we're looking for in order to buy our next investment is we're looking not so much that the apartment market is down, okay, but individually, different buildings have gotten hit because either they got to refi them because the mortgage is up, or they put a hard money loan on them that they can't afford when they bought it, or they bought it with an adjustable rate mortgage, and in any case, these higher interest rates are putting them in the tank. And then we'll be looking to come in and solve their problem. Now, some people say, hey, you sound like a bunch of vultures. No, there's people that are going to need to get out. We didn't make these decisions for them. We didn't tell them to go overpay for that building. When we bought our buildings at the same time, we just looked until we could find the right deal. And we didn't overpay. And we instead of buying more buildings, what we did is we paid cash for fewer number of buildings. But they always say, you can't get foreclosed on if you don't have a mortgage. Okay? All right? And so, but now we're going to go out because we think we're getting closer to the beginning of a new interest rate cycle. And when you hit a new interest rate cycle, you end up in a new real estate market. And then there's a time to buy. And that's what we're looking at. So to answer your question long and short, we're looking for opportunities. We're just now looking for real estate. We're looking for the right opportunities inside the real estate market.